Welcome in, friends, to a late night sports from the couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday night before you get ready for your work week. We really appreciate you guys making us a part of your day, or at least finishing it off this weekend. And what a crazy weekend it was. The NCAA was absolutely on fire in March Madness. Hopefully some of your brackets haven't been absolutely destroyed. What do we have? We have a bunch of Cubs news, a bunch of White Sox news, obviously some very interesting stuff with Tom Izzo, and we had some retirement news kind of just buried in between all this craziness that has been March Madness. So we got a few things we have to hit on. So why don't we go ahead and start with some of the most recent news that we heard when it came to locally here in Chicago, and that has to do with Chicago Cubs superstar, young superstar. Would you consider him a superstar? I wouldn't, but you've seen that word go around. I still think he's kind of a prospect, even though we're going to be on his second and a half year in the league. But that has to do with Cubs Ian Happ, and that was because today we found out Ian Happ will be sent down to AAA Iowa, and this is coming off of some struggles for Ian Happ. This is a report off of NBC Sports Chicago. Joe Madden told reporters on Saturday afternoon that Happ will begin this season with AAA Iowa. The Cubs have since made the move official. Happ, 24, had 253 with 328 and 514 slash line with 24 home runs as a rookie in 2017. Last season, his numbers dipped to a slash line of 233, 353, and 408, including a 196, 313, and 340 slash line. And I know that's a lot of numbers throwing at you guys at one time, but we promise we'll talk a little bit about the slash lines, what they mean in our preview for the Cubs season that starts in March 28th. But there's some other stuff we want to get into. It may not be a long-term move, with Happ being optioned to AAA. That gives the Cubs an extra roster spot that could be used for a reliever. It's something that we've been talking about all season. Is there's a lot of depth with this team, and they're going to need the bullpen help, especially with Morrow, and you don't know exactly what's going on with Strop. They're going to need as much pitchers on deck to start off the 2019 season. We have some more quotes, though, from Joe Madden. We just want to make sure that he gets down there and really gets a lot of consistent at-bats, especially from the left side. Obviously, we consider him a huge part of our future, but just based on that conclusion of last year and what we're seeing at this point this year, we think it's really important. Of course, he wasn't happy, Joe Madden said. So, I mean, it's right there for you, right? Like, I know I get like a lot of Cub fans are really upset for the simple fact that when it comes to prospects, right? And like the Cubs for the longest time were, if you're a Cub fan, all right, let's take this back from the beginning. For the longest time, your big gleam of hope was these prospects and what they were going to do coming up, and kind of that was the golden ticket as a fan. And then you get to the point where they win. And then they're favorites. And then you get to the point with winning comes these responsibilities, these consequences, having to pay contracts, guys moving on, not meeting expectations, and more pressure on you. And that's what happens with Ian Happ. And here's the interesting thing that I think a lot of people don't want to take into consideration, or they kind of missed out on Theo Epstein. This is kind of the talk they were talking about. There were going to be moves. You had to prove yourself. It wasn't going to be as simple as going off morals and what you kind of go on before and what they expect of you and potential. No, you had to show it on the field, and Ian Happ has been struggling. Now, I'm going to be interested to see if, for me, this is more along the lines of we knew somebody had to go at some point. We know that this team moving forward is going to have to make decisions on who they're going to move forward with in the next 5, 6, 7 years, right? I've always wondered if it's Ian Happ, if it's Kyle Schwarber. Which one of these guys is it? And it seems to me like he's the one that kind of has the biggest hill to climb. Because he's not as good a defender as Albert Almora. Maybe more athletic. Not a better power hitter or a better hitter, period, than Kyle Schwarber. Obviously, the contract with Jason Hayward changes everything because it's just hard to move. So I'm very interested to see what this means moving forward. If this is a precursor to something else for this team. If this is something that they're willing to move forward with. If he's that piece that you're going to have to get, that for sure is going to be part of any package. Shout out to Beer, each and every one of you guys. Thank you for joining us on this late night Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves on the studio Here we are in the sports section of the Mercado Airwaves TGM studios, but one of these days we'll take you guys. I keep getting questions about it. We'll take you a tour around the studios. But here's as Stone Cold says, here's a beer for the drinking man, for the working man. So that is not the only news though in baseball. Obviously for the Cubs, the season starts Thursday on the 28th, so it's going to be interesting to see. But we know for a fact that Ian Happ will be starting it off in AAA. But that wasn't the only news, obviously, here in baseball. Eloy Jimenez has now signed a new deal with the Chicago White Sox. Again, this is coming from the reports from NBC Sports Chicago and the White Sox themselves. The team confirmed that reported earlier in the week that the deal is worth $43 million over 6 years with a pair of team options that can extend the contract through the 2026 season. This is from the White Sox announcement itself. Under terms of the contract, Jimenez will receive a $5 million bonus in addition to $1 million in 2019, $1.5 million in 2020, $3.5 million in 2021, $6.5 million in 2022, $9.5 million in 2023, and $13 million in 2024. The White Sox hold options for $16.5 million in 2025 and $18.5 million in 2026, with a $3 million buyout for either season. Should the White Sox eventually pick up both options, this deal has the potential to be the largest franchise has ever handed out, surpassing the $68 million deal given to Jose Abreu ahead of the 2014 season. Most notably, the deal wipes away the service time conversation, and that means Eloy will be up for all you White Sox fans to take a look at the first game of 2019, and opening day next week in Kansas City should be a lot of fun for you White Sox fans. And that's the big thing about it. The whole conversation was going to be about the 2 weeks leading into the season for White Sox fans. And when it comes to Eloy Jimenez, look, what else can you say about the man? He's going to be a superstar if he stays healthy. The only knock on Eloy Jimenez is his health. If he stays healthy, he's going to be a superstar. He might be an MVP. And for the White Sox to lock him up the way they did is ingenious. It was just such a great move. And it's not, I don't want to say consolation prize because you didn't get the big fish. You didn't do what you wanted to do, right? You didn't get Manny. You didn't get Harper. But guaranteeing that your future, that the guys that you know you're going to build your franchise around, the guy that you know your fans want to see, that I want to see. You know, I'm a Cub fan. I couldn't wait to see Eloy at Wrigley Field. Now it's going to be, White Sox uniform in the black and white. It's going to be an awesome series. I cannot wait to see half of the Cubs minor league system and Jose Quintana, go at each other. But Eloy's going to be a super stud. It was a great move. I'm just so happy for you White Sox fans, for baseball fans to be able to see this guy. It's funny because in sports, there's that intangibles, right? There's the things you can't account for on the stat sheets, or you only see with your eye, or in this case, your ears. The way it sounds when the ball goes off Eloy's bat, there's nothing else. I love it. There's literally Twitter sections off of it that you could just see how amazing and how just he's Superman. He's Superman. Eloy is. But I'm excited. I'm so happy for White Sox fans. I'm happy for Eloy that he got this contract down, and we'll see. If it all works out, they got a hell of a deal, and you got to give them they did it with Jose Abreu, but you got to give them the White Sox credit that this was a big move. And now you got Kopech, and you have, Luis Robert at some point. You have Moncada, you have Eloy, you have Jose Abreu, like the Tim Anderson. Like, they have a nice little team. They have a bunch of pitching. Unfortunately for the White Sox, they've had some injuries, but it's still early enough in the process that they might be able to overcome it. But more than anything, it's great news for them to be able to get to this point and have somebody that they can really rely on. And I think Eloy is going to be great for baseball, great for Chicago, and I can't wait for the series between the Cubs and White Sox because there's so much young talent on both sides, and the potential is phenomenal. But we have one more big NBA, I should say NCAA story. I guess it has to deal with the NBA because the story deals with Tom Izzo, who's brought a lot of guys into the NBA, and also just really bad optics, but it's complicated. So we'll get into the whole Tom Izzo news in just a little bit, and we also got to get into the breaking news of Gronkowski. But before we get to that, we have to give a quick shout-out to Montreal Design for always powering us here at the Mercado Airwaves Network. So we'll see you in about a minute and a half. See you in a minute, guys. Alrighty, guys. So first of all, did you guys watch that Duke? Who was it? Duke. I'm blanking on who they just played, but that Duke game was unbelievable. Oh, UCF. Jesus, that game was unbelievable. To think like that tipping going in and out, like the Duke lost that game twice, and it's the insanity that is March Madness. Like you can't fake it. There is no other sport like it when it comes to that. It's hard to explain because each sport has their great, lack for a better word, their shining moments. You know, the NFC, AFC championship game and divisional playoffs, it is one game in elimination, and there's only so many games in a season and how much it hurts these guys' bodies. So you understand how much that means. But there's something about collegiate sports, and you know, I'm the first one to call it out, what it is. Like, these guys aren't getting paid, and we'll get into it a little bit of why it's a little weird with the Tom Izzo stuff. But how much it means to them. Because some of them are going to the NBA, but not all of them. And that still means something to them. And it's still big moments, and it's still not every guy is a superstar. Not every girl's a superstar in the women's tournament. Not all of them are going to go to Europe. Not all of them are going to go to WNBA. Not all of them are going to go to the NBA. Not all they're going to go to the D-League. To Europe, it doesn't matter. Japan, China. It ends when this tournament ends for them. So to see some of and what was weird is Thursday and Friday there weren't any buzzer beaters, and the first overtime game was today's Tennessee game. So Tennessee, Iowa, and it's been an interesting tournament because it's been really good ball, at least in the sense of entertaining. But today was the first time where it felt like March Madness, where man, anything could have happened. Anything could have happened, but there was some stuff that did happen that wasn't necessarily the best, and that was the Tom Izzo interaction with one of his players. And look, guys, I'm not going to sit here and say that this is complicated. All right. Everything you've heard people say is true on both sides. Sorry, I know a lot of people hate when people say both sides were right. There's good sides on both people. I get it. No. You have to understand it's not all black and white. If you feel a certain way, if you do feel that you don't feel right seeing something like this, it makes you feel weird, that's okay. If you sit there and say, well, that comes with it, that's okay too. What's not okay is planting your flag and making everybody else feel like their point is invalid. If they're trying to make a well thought out point. Hard coaching does matter. Should these players be paid? Yes, beyond just their scholarship or whatever weird thing you guys think they're getting, they should get paid. You should see how much money they're making. We'll talk about it on Sports from the Couch proper, but how much money they were making off of the tournament and the Zion Williams camera, which was weird by CBS. But yes, does it look weird when you have a grown white man yelling at an 18-year-old black man like he's about to attack him? This is a young man. It's an 18-year-old. It's a freshman. And then you have, obviously, the seniors holding back Izzo. But at the same token, you hear his players defend him. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. The problem, though, is people want to put their morals and their standards and their way of views into this. And I get it. Like, I get you want to be on the right side of history. I really do get you want to feel like you're not just part of the problem. Like, you're just keep going along with what everybody says. This isn't it, though. I understand. Look, here's the truth. A lot of this takes discipline, right? We've been talking about should these players get paid? Absolutely. There is pressure on them, though. Whether or not it's fair or not, like, there is pressure that you shouldn't. You have to understand that they know that there's a lot of money on them. They know that there's their future writing on them. They know that they're forever going to be pariahs on their campus or their hometown if they let people down, if they flubber somehow kind of way, right? And it's not fair that they don't get paid for it. But there is a high-pressure situation. Tom Izzo does get paid a lot of money. There is a lot of pressure on him. And maybe he should act better. But all this can be true. And you could see why. And we're going to get into kind of the counter argument to when people say, well, his players say this. And I think it's really important that we talk about it, because a lot of his players and a lot of tweets did come out in his defense. And this is some of them you see right here. I've been yelled at like this before and get the next play called for me. LOL, run, screen, rescreen. I'm going to try to tear the rim off. Gary Harris, so coaches can yell at players now. LOL, cares about his players more than half these other college coaches. 600 wins for a reason. Hashtag go green. Miles Bridges, and we know how important Miles Bridges is. Stop being soft, as a retweet from people going against Tom Izzo. Some more tweets. How about, I like how so many people have something to say about Izzo coaching, except all the people and players that have been in that locker room or in the battle with him. Give me all that. I got to go to war with him any day. Gary Harris. So coaches can yell at players now. LOL, cares about his players more than half of these other coaches. And I really want to get into this one. This is from Draymond Green, maybe the most important Michigan Spartan since Magic Johnson. And he starts with, just an FYI, being in those huddles for years, Cassius and Mad Grab is so he could shut up and move on. After a while, you're just ready for him to draw up the play. Just giving perspective from someone who's been part of those huddles. And the reason he wouldn't stop is because Aaron Henry kept talking. However, what the world doesn't know is that Iz loves the kid who will challenge him back more than anything. So there's some insight for y'all. So young fella, keep standing up for yourself and don't back down. And Iz, keep leading the program. We on a mission. So he's getting the support. And here's the thing. The only people who are really anti-Izzo right now are non-athletes. And there are some athletes, obviously, who just don't like the optic, because that's the thing. The optic doesn't look right, especially in 2019. It doesn't look right, especially knowing what we know now about collegiate athletes and collegiate athletics in general. Just kind of the scam it is. But it doesn't look right. But it doesn't mean that it's as bad as we want to portray it to be. And that's the problem with all of this. At the end of the day, the problem is, how bad is this? Motivation works on different levels. I'm motivated one way. Nicole's motivated one way. Alex is motivated one way. It's up to us as reasonable adults to figure out how to work with one another. That's not making it right or wrong. And that's the same case with Tom Izzo. You may think that you can do it one way. You believe that you should be able to coach in one way. But that's not the case. He has won a lot of games, so he does get that benefit of the doubt that it might work. Now, my big problem with Izzo is his response back, talking about how editorials and just kind of stay in your lane, Tom. If you want to tell people to stay in their lane, stay in your lane too, okay? Like don't be a hypocrite in that stance. But could he have played it off better? Could he have played, look, I get the optics, I coach hard, I love my guys love me, we will talk about this, so on and so forth. Do I understand that in today's day and age we're trying to set examples for young men? Absolutely. But in the heat of a moment, and I think Scott Van Pelt said it wonderfully, you can see it on my Twitter at @mmercado too. Sorry, guys, just making sure the video was good. There is a winner, and Scott Van Pelt's the one who mentioned it. There is a winner and a loser. And objectively speaking, you have to understand that these guys do have pressure on them. And there is going to be a moment where everything is on the line for them. And you have to understand that. Like, it's easy for me to sit right here in the studio and tell you that this is what he should do. This is what I would do. When I'm not in a stadium with 17,000 people, an entire university, and the entire media looking at me to deliver because of what I've done before. Now, has Tom Izzo stepped on it when it comes to the Larry Nassar stuff and kind of has some baggage with the media? Absolutely. I'm not saying that he hasn't put his foot in his mouth a bunch of times. But in this scenario, it's not black and white. Coaching never is. There is a difference. If he's smacking somebody around, if he's not letting them get a drink of water, if he's making them run miles until they're throwing up and passing out, if he's taking them out of class, all those things, yeah. But in that moment, maybe that's the only way this guy gets it through his head. Maybe it's a bigger message than anything else. Maybe it's an ingenious move to get the talk and all the focus on him. But I see, I love 670 to the score. I love Maggie and Julie. They're an awesome tandem in the radio world. But their reaction right away is as if Tom Izzo's going to do that in real life. Like if that's what he does in real life. Now I'm not going to assume one way or the other that he does or doesn't. But for you to assume it and then put it on the air and then to kind of make the world want you to feel that way, that is not fair. Then I can assume everything about you by the way you act in radio. The way that you act in video, the way you act on social media. We don't want to be portrayed that way. And then if you want to have the argument of his players only say that because of Stockholmism, essentially, Stockholm Syndrome. Maybe. But that's also pretty lazy and easy narrative to go to. Maybe it works. Maybe it's that easy. As easy as you can say with Stockholm, what else are they going to say? Draymond doesn't have to go out of his way to say anything. Miles Bridges doesn't have to go out of his way to say anything. And this idea of it's a slippery slope. This is how people get in charge. This is how people become gods. They can do whatever they want. They're doing that already. It's not, this scenario isn't making Tom Izzo more powerful at Michigan State. He's got all the power. What are you talking about? It's okay to be mad because you don't like the optics or you wouldn't want your child being yelled at. But don't put that on everybody else. Everybody else has to make their own decision. And at the end of the day, if you have a child that could go to Michigan State, that has talented enough to get recruited to Michigan State, and that was distasteful enough for you to not like Tom Izzo and not like Michigan State, don't enroll them there. Don't let them get recruited there. That's how you make a difference. That's how you voice it. But by going on social media or going on a radio show and telling us why it's right or why it's wrong, without being into the complexity that is humans, it's kind of ridiculous to me. But I want to know from you guys. Let us know all over social media. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. And, of course, we're on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. You guys can check out all our different networks right there. You can even follow Alex at Mercado21Alex and Nicole at Typing When Tipsy on Twitter. We're all on Instagram. I'm at MikeMercado2333. Alex is at Mercado2121. Nicole's at Typing When Tipsy. You can follow our true crime show at Murder, Mysteries, and More. Of course, come play video games with us at Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. But one last thing before we get out of here, guys. That's right. Rob Gronkowski has retired. The rumblings have been out there all season. Mike Florio was one of the first people I heard personally talk about it. But, yeah, the great tight end himself, Yo Soy Fiesta, the bro is gone. I love Gronkowski. He's a doofus. He's goofy. He says funny stuff. He's a total jock, total bro. But, man, there was no better tight end ever. I've never seen a tight end like that. And I'm a Tony Gonzalez mark. Tony Gonzalez is my guy. Antonio Gates is my guy. I love. But Gronkowski, there might not be anybody like him after Gronk. Or at least we're seeing the transformation with George Kittles and Zach Ertz and Travis Kelce. There's some guys out there, but he was a unicorn. We're going to go into a weird phase in the NFL. I was talking with this. I forgot who I was mentioning it with, but you have at some point in the next, let's just say 5 years, right? It has to be. Drew Brees will be gone. Aaron Rodgers will be gone. Maybe. Tom Brady will be gone. You have Gronkowski's gone. It's a new league. It's a new league. There's nobody. What is the league going to be then now? Who you could see that they're trying now to make Saquon a star, Patrick Mahomes a star. But I wonder if it's going to have the same, if there's no, see, when you have Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and you're able to sell a lot of these commercials and be advertisement and whatnot. But other than Patrick Mahomes, you better hope Jared Goff becomes a superstar. You better hope Mitchell Trubisky becomes a superstar. It's very interesting to see what the NFL would do that with moving forward. But we'll definitely talk a little bit more about Rob Gronkowski kind of as the days move forward, we'll get the statement on the next episode. We'll do a live video. We'll show you guys the statement that Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and the New England Patriots set up themselves. But that'll do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on this special late night edition of Sports from the Couch. We're trying the new studio stuff. We have the new cameras. We have the new software. If you guys saw it drop a little bit, we're trying to figure out exactly how the power works for it. But hope you guys are liking how we're doing the new pictures and kind of giving you guys all the examples. But thank you guys. A lot of you missed it. We talked about Ian Happ and the new story that he will be going down and starting the season in AAA Iowa, starting March 28th for the Chicago Cubs. Eloy Jimenez for the Chicago White Sox signs a new deal and will start the season with the ball club. Their face of the franchise will finally be up to start the season for you White Sox fans. The Tom Izzo story, it's shaking up the NCAA March Madness, but thankfully for a wonderful Saturday and Sunday, the basketball has become the story. But we'll definitely talk a little bit about it in proper Sports from the Couch. And, of course, Gronkowski announcing his retirement earlier this Sunday. We'll be breaking all that and the rest of the NFL reaction to good old number 87 from the New England Patriots, calling it quits in the NFL. But that'll do it for us, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. Enjoy your work week. We'll be on. We're going to try to do a Tuesday show, a Thursday show, and a Friday show. But definitely stay tuned for a special baseball edition of Sports from the Couch. Thursday the 28th, the Cubs start their season. I believe the White Sox start the season on the 28th as well. So we'll be breaking all that. And we have a special review of Shazam. That's right, the good brother and I saw Shazam as an early screening, and we'll have our spoiler and non-spoiler review up on the network. But thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of Sports from the Couch, a late night. We really appreciate it. Thank you for sticking with us for all the new technical stuff. It's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. But enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. Follow me on Twitter at mmercado2333 and on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. We'll see you guys next time here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network.